got a chance to see Fallout. And let's talk about it right now. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as we talk about movies, television shows, and comic books, and the occasional board game. I am your host, Frank Zanka. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, and finally getting back into working on set. I've been doing budgets right and left the last few days. I'm actually a working line producer for film and television. Moved to Atlanta about 6 months ago. And, right during the strikes. That was always good. And we do have another strike looming, but I've gotten some low-budget stuff that's the upcoming strike will hopefully not affect. And if so, we'll be done with it before the strike happens in August. So anyway, lots of stuff going on. Exciting. And on top of that, we have some other stuff going on. And I'll talk about that in the back end. But if you are a budding writer or filmmaker, director, whatever, I am doing a small class this weekend via Zoom, so it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. And we are doing a big discount on it right now. So we have the early bird special, and if you type in Learn Film, I'll put that in the description below with the link to Eventbrite, and it'll give you like $50 off. So exciting stuff, and it's my first class, so I kind of want to get as many people in there as possible. There's only 20 seats available, so I'm keeping it small, but I want to at least have a few people in there. We have sold several tickets, but I kind of want a little bit more, just so I can field questions and things like that. All right, so yeah, check out it's below. We're going to be talking about how to write for a low-budget film, how to create a budget, how to schedule. So all the stuff that if you're even doing a short, or if you're doing a web series, or you're doing a feature, these are all things that you're going to need to know. And with the networks and studios doing less and less, this is actually the perfect time to start doing low budget. All right, so let's talk about something that's not low budget. Namely Fallout, and that's now on Prime. They have 8 episodes out so far, and it's based on the very highly regarded and successful video game of the same name. It is not a video game that I have ever played, unless it's Star Wars or Overwatch. I probably haven't played it. I have played Tomb Raider too, but many renditions of those as well. But recently, I'm just been on an Overwatch thing because that's a game I can play 2-3 of them and get out. So, but anyway, so it's on Prime, 8 episodes, as I said, and it's got Walter Goggins in it. Of course, he is from the last. He's from a bunch of things, but he was from the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. He played probably one of the worst villains ever because there was just nothing to the villain. Leslie Uggams is also in it. You might know her from the Deadpool movies. She plays the his blind partner. I don't know what roommate. I don't know what she is to him, but yeah, she's the blind woman that's always with him when he's home. And yeah, it's funny because that we represented Nichelle Nichols, and she was also acted for me a couple of times and stuff like that when we were doing the Star Trek stuff. And people were at a convention. People walk up to her and say, "I love you in Deadpool." Meanwhile, she wasn't in Deadpool. So anyway, Leslie Uggams, and I guess she looks similar. I kind of feel that way about Aaron Eckhart and oh god, what's the other guy's name who played the Punisher? But anyway, I feel that way about those two. I was just watching something on Netflix, and Aaron Eckhart's there, and I thought it was the other guy. Anyway, so this is a sci-fi based thing, but it's kind of has like a 50s look to it, especially in the beginning when they're dropping bombs. The television's in black and white and stuff like that, but it doesn't look like the 50s otherwise. and they have, listening devices and stuff to that effect. It's not supposed to be the 50s. So I don't really, it's kind of a nebulous thing. I guess they just like the 50s aesthetic because they also, had a war going on where people were wearing mech suits. So it's just this, weird amalgam of technology. So it's not supposed to be anything that really, they say America, but it's not supposed to be anything that correlates to, our world for the most part. So let's look at it from a filmmaking point of view. So let's talk about the writing to begin with. I think that the writing is very good. It doesn't really match up to what I had with Warrior, where it was like, a master class in writing, because there were certain times I was bored. I was like, let's get it moving, or, let's get everything back on track if it went a little bit too far out, from the main storyline. And, then the characters do grow to a certain extent, especially two of the three main characters. So there's three main characters. Let's talk about that. So we start out with Lucy. Lucy is played by Ella Purnell, and she does an amazing job. The only thing I've ever seen her in when she was younger was Maleficent, directed by Nolan's brother. And he also did Westworld. It's the same two people that did Westworld did this. Geneva Robertson DeWert. That's how you say it. She created this, but she's also got two other writing credits that you're probably not going to think too highly of. And that's the last Tomb Raider movie and Captain Marvel. So, not a whole lot going on there. But obviously, she's still getting work, even after two flops like those. Well, the original Captain Marvel wasn't a flop. So, not financially anyway. Just everything else. I actually did like the original Captain Marvel, but I do know that it had major, major problems with it. So anyway, so we start out with her, and she lives in a bunker with it's like a utopian, again, it has all this 50s type of aesthetic to it, and I guess they grow their own food, they create their own products. It's everything's there where they can be self-sufficient forever. And because it's been several hundred years, and they're still there. And they know that there's life on the surface, but they have not integrated. I guess they're waiting for people to kill each other off or something to that effect. I don't know. There's other nefarious things going on, but that's the main gist of it. And so she's about to get married. And I'm not going to give away too many spoilers. I'm just going to talk about the plot. So she's about to get married, and it doesn't go as planned, and her father gets taken by people on the surface. So now she has to be a fish out of water and do things like she's never been in any confrontation. She's never, it's all been layer cake with her. And now she has to be a badass and willing to kill when she's never even picked up literally a gun before. Even the gun that she had was like a trank gun. So she's never taken a life before. So she has to totally change her personality. And I love the fact that she's like, okie dokie. That's her big thing. Like even her new husband was like, well, I just wanted to have sex. And she's like, okie dokie. Like jumps on him. Because she's like, oh, I want to have a relationship with somebody who's not my cousin. I don't want to see the real thing. So there's a lot of little quirks and stuff like that. And she elevates every character that she comes in contact with. So she is the star. Without her, this does not work. She is the light. She is the interesting little lightning bug that goes around and lights up all the other characters. So without her, it's too dark, it's too grim, and pretty much uninteresting until you plug her into those scenes. So we get everybody's after this one guy who is from Lost, Person of Interest, etc. Really good actor, really good. I guess he's more like a character actor. And but anyway, he's really good, and he is the target, and he doesn't last very long. But he doesn't last through the first season. I'll give it to you that way. But he is technically talked about almost in every scene. And then it's Moises Arias, who I have not seen in a very long time. I'm glad he picked up this role because he has a very odd look to him. He's short for a male, especially being older now. But I really like him, and he's pretty interesting too. He plays Lucy's brother, and Kyle MacLachlan plays the father. So, but the last time I saw him was like in Ender's Game, and he was also in Hannah Montana. So he played like the, I guess he was not really like a bar, but he had like an outside kiosk. He was like the businessman. So he's really good, and he's got high energy, and here he had to diminish that energy. All right, and then we have Walter Goggins, who is playing the ghoul. So he is like a zombie, but he's very aware of himself and stuff to that effect, and he has no nose, which is very interesting. The makeup he probably had to go through every single day. And then we see his life back and forth. So he was a very famous film actor, again, during the 50s or whatever, because that's when Westerns were big. So he played a cowboy. And his wife works for Vault-Tec, and then he starts doing commercials for them, which ends up really getting him ousted from Hollywood. I don't understand how that worked, but that's pretty much what happened. So anyway, they have a daughter together, and he's basically looking for what happened to his family. And there's a lot of stuff that gets unveiled with Kyle MacLachlan's character and his character. But anyway, he and Lucy have a conflictual relationship and arrangement at times. And even wears her finger. I don't know. If you haven't seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about once it happens. And then there's the other character. So that was the 2 out of 3 of the main characters. And then the third guy, I'm trying to find his name here, but he's the one who plays Maximus. He's been in a lot of television shows, but nothing that he's really stood out with. So this is kind of his breakout thing, and this is really Ella Purnell's breakout as well. Nobody's really seen really much of her that, again, stands out like this one does. But anyway, I can't find his name, but anyway, he's got a very different look and feel from the rest of the characters because he's naive, but he has no problem. Oh, there he is, Aaron Moten. So he's playing Maximus, but he plays it more naive and innocent, even though he has no problem killing people. So, but he wants to be a good guy. That's his whole thing, is that he wants to be a hero. So anyone that is he feels as a threat, even his own people, he has no problem fighting against. Anyway, he and his character is not very interesting. He's the one wearing the mech suit throughout, so he's a knight, and he starts out as a squire and then becomes a knight, and he ends up with Lucy almost on a romantic scale, and she elevates him also. Without her, he is not an interesting character. But you put them together, and you want them to succeed together. And it's really funny when they talk about sex and stuff like that, because I guess the knights and the brotherhood don't have sex, even though there are women in there, because one of his best friends is a woman. So, but I guess they don't have sex. I probably can't even say some of the stuff that he said. But anyway, some of the people that you think are bad guys aren't really bad guys, and some of the guys you think are good guys aren't really good guys. And there's this really juxtaposition as you learn more of people's pasts and their motivations and stuff to that effect. So the show is very good. Again, I don't think it's not a masterclass like Warrior is, but the world building, the sets that they created, the makeup, all this stuff. The I wouldn't say there's really fight scenes in it. There is a little bit, but it's clunky fight scenes. It's not like it's jujitsu or karate or anything to that effect. It's not really martial arts. So, but it's more like brawling. But anyway, so it's I don't know anything about the lore, but I think from what I've heard other people say that they did throw every piece-side diversity into this thing, but they kept the lore. So that's good. Although I heard that there was also supposed to be like a New Vegas that they're kind of retconning because the original guy didn't create it or something to that effect. So we'll see if we get New Vegas in there. We have New California because we see the flag. But anyways, again, there's a lot of twists and turns about where the comeuppance of these people and how they got into the positions that they're in, and what the motivations are for the future. So it was good. I'm looking forward to the next season. I recommend the show. To me, it's definitely not a 9 or a 10. It's more of a 8 for me. So it's something I would look forward to seeing a next season of, especially with Ella Purnell's character and her acting. I really like her character and what she did with it and the choices that she made. And she's very likable, which makes you like other people that she's associated with. And the Ghoul character, you really don't like him, but you kind of want to see him succeed as well. And you're kind of hoping that that Maximus and Lucy do end up, kind of changing the world a little bit. And that's the whole thing they also come into. They keep saying people want to change the world, but they all have their own ideas about doing it, which is what creates, constant conflict. So, which is interesting. It's an interesting thing, and how the bombs actually go off and the nuclear, because that was a big thing in the 80s. I don't think we're really worried about nukes now, because we know that when people drop one, it's just over. The whole world's over. So it's mutual destruction, which nobody's really willing to do, and we know that. So we're not really worried about nukes like they were back in the 80s, with the Cold War and stuff like that. Anyway, it's very interesting, and again, it's worth watching, and I think that they do a good job of developing characters, and thankfully for the Fallout fans, they do a good enough job where people aren't up in arms that they messed up, something that they loved, which is what I hate. Because I was hearing a lot about that for Avatar, the new Avatar show on Netflix. But meanwhile, One Piece, everybody was praising it. So it just goes to show you that there's that line you can cross where you can kind of make diversity happen. And I don't really notice the diversity in here. I noticed that, of course, there's characters of all different races and stuff like that. But you'd kind of expect that to be like that with a vault and with the surface. So I don't notice it, but I didn't play the game, so I don't know if they've altered some of the characters and things to that effect, but I haven't heard anybody on the internet up in arms about any of that. So that's pretty interesting, where they were up in arms about that with Avatar, where they were changing the characters' motivations and things like that. So anyway, that's it for me. Again, I recommend it. About an 8 for me. I think it's decent. It's worth a watch. And I think you should check it out if you have Prime. All right? And again, thank you guys so much for spending time with me. Remember to give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'd love to continue making content, grow the channel out. And on top of that, remember that in the description below, if you want to come and hang out with me this weekend and learn some stuff about low-budget filmmaking. I'd be happy to teach you. We are going to jump into even some financing stuff as well. So it's going to be lots of fun. And then if you're into card games as well, Mark Spears and I are releasing a card game based on classic monsters. This is actually the Dark Wizard of Oz expansion pack for that, but the main pack is going to have to do with classic monsters. And he's done, comic art he just did a Kneel Before Zod for DC. He's done Spider-Man. He's done Vampirella. He's done Spawn. He's, Power Rangers. He's done cover arts for a lot of different things. But anyway, you had this whole repertoire of classic monsters, and we teamed up together to make this really cool card game. And if you want to be informed about that once we launch, you can check out the link below there, and you just got to sign up. It doesn't cost you anything. You just sign up, and it'll tell you. The game's not expensive anyway. It's like $35 or whatever. It's not expensive. So anyway, we're going to be launching that shortly. I'm waiting on a couple of things before that happens, and I'm hoping I get my samples in before I leave for LA to work on that film. All right, and also check out some of my other videos that will pop up here at the end. And that's it for me. Thank you guys again so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys on the next one.